Welcome to True House Stories, Mr. Derrick Mckenzie.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Derrick. I'm glad you made it. Let's get right into this today. You know,
Okay.
Big day. It's a big this inauguration day. So,
Great day.
inaugurate us to how music found a young Derrick.
Whoa. Okay. So, how did I start? Well, to be honest, I picked up my first drumsticks, which wasn't quite drumsticks. It was coat hangers, to be honest. It was coat hangers. So, because my mum is a seamstress, she was a seamstress because she's retired now.
Oh, God
she
bless
was a
her.
seamstress. So, she used to have these hangers to hang up the dresses on, and then there were these kind of like, you know, hangers they go like that, and then they've got the other bit coming underneath, right, for the trouser. But this one's just went halfway like that, and I just took the hook bit out somehow. I just bend it out, and then just use a pair of coat hangers, and just sit down on the floor with my legs crossed, and just bang out just rhythms on the floor. Now that was when I was like 5 or 6. So that was the first time I picked up, let's just say, a pair of sticks.
Okay.
You know, and then from there, you know, I just like listened to my dad's music and didn't just play along to whatever came on, whether it was old school reggae, ska, rock and roll stuff, you know, Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, all the reggae stuff, all the old reggae school, old school reggae guys. My dad had loads of music, still has got loads of music, you know, and I just bang along to that. So, and then consequently, we then moved house. Fast forward to like when I was like now 10, about 10 or 11. I then picked up a bit more on the drums. My friends who lived on my road discovered that I could play the drums, or had a good sense of rhythm, should I say, because I never had a drum kit at this point. So I'm still using the coat hangers and all that. And then they said, oh, we want to do a band. Do you fancy playing the drums? I was like, yeah, why not? Cool. So my friend Chris, he was a guitarist. He had a drum kit, went along up to his house and just played drums with his band. That lasted for like 2 weeks. Weren't successful because we didn't do any gigs, being 10 and 11.
Wait, we're already thinking about doing gigs at 10? Wait. We're aspiring to do gigs at 10. We're talking about, we normally with 10-year-olds, what we're talking about is watching football, maybe playing a little bit together. Let's go watch more TV, or in those days, cartoons or whatever.
None of that for me.
You guys looking to do bar gigs? You a bar band already?
Lenny, none of that football stuff. I was good at athletics, right? I admit that.
Let's take it on the road, man. We're taking this on the road. We're going on the road. No one's got a driver's license. No one's legally, but yeah, you're all thinking about we're taking the world away. Okay, so go ahead.
So then that band lasted about 10. I was till about 10 or something. Anyway, fast forward again. I'm now at senior school, and I'm about 14 years old, still playing, you know, practicing, playing the drums. But I still didn't have a drum kit. So I used to practice, I used to play to music on a stool, which was like kind of rectangular shape. And then I would sit at one end of the stool and get the coat, still got coat hangers at this point. And then I'll be like just banging on the chair and playing to reggae music and stuff like that. And literally just played so much on this chair, I made a hole in it. Consequently, I got in trouble.
So was Mom's chair like a leather type of chair that you snapping it, right? With the
yeah, and hitting the same spot all the time. Wore it out, put a hole in it.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, and then
Derrick, stop.
Exactly.
Derrick!
Exactly. Anyway, my dad recovered the chair, of course.
Good man. Good man.
And then I started again.
with a fresh skin.
Yeah, he put a tougher leather skin on it this time, and so consequently, I was just practicing. I just to practice like a couple of every day, more or less, playing music and all that. And one of my sister's old boyfriends, Marcus is his name. He's from Nottingham, and he played keyboards in a band. I can't remember the name of the band, but anyway, it was local. I was living in Tottenham in North London, and he saw me playing on the chair and he said, "Do you know what? You've got a really good sense of rhythm. You sound really good." And, we don't really think anything of it, because I didn't think anything of it. And I just thought, right, all right, yeah, cool. He goes, "Why don't you come along to one of my band's rehearsals?" Right. Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, yeah, really excited. Went along to the rehearsal, and I saw basically it'd be my second drum kit live. And this kit was massive. It had every single tom from like an 8-inch, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. It had all the toms. Massive it was. And the guys were playing, and I thought it sounded brilliant. Really, really cool. And then, of course, when I had a break, drummer said, "Oh, do you fancy having a go?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." So I got on the kit, and of course, he's right-handed. So,
you're southpaw, so you're left-handed.
Yeah, so he was playing this way. And when I got on the kit, I just found it really awkward, really weird, just weird to play. And he said, he goes, "What hand do you write with?" I said, "I'm left-handed." He goes, "Oh, so you must probably got to swap the hi-hat over to the other side and the snare and everything." So yeah, I went, "Okay, yeah." So we swapped it over, and it felt really comfortable, and I just played. It was great. And that was my first proper experience with playing with a band, with with a bass guitar and keyboards.
So wait, let me ask. So there was never before you touched a cymbal with a pedal and a kick drum with a kick drum with the pedal. Nothing.
No.
So you just jumped
from the time when I was 10, and then I didn't really take it seriously then. So that was the first time I ever went on a drum kit, on an actual drum kit to play.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you knew exactly, look, I know you're playing, so you got the rhythm right, but you knew exactly how to get the cymbals to open and close and make it feel like...
Yeah, just get the basics of just keeping time. Basically what I was doing was just keeping time.
Yep.
And the guys were just playing along, and so, just did that for about 10 or 15 minutes. And that was like my first experience of playing live drums.
Did you even do the rolls, complete roll and everything?
Well, I tried to do a roll.
That's where it's interesting if you never did it before.
And that was a bit of a hard one, because you have to remember the drums are up here. I'm like down here because I was only tiny. Do you know what I mean? So the drums are up here. I'm all the way over here trying to hit the bloody cymbal. It's just miles away. Do you know what I mean? And then come back. Anyway, I decided just to stick with kick, snare, and hat.
Gotcha. No, that's the most safest bet.
Yeah, exactly. So kick, snare, and hat, that worked, and I was over the moon. I actually got to play with musicians on the first drum kit. And then just slightly after that, it wasn't too long after that I actually joined. I never quite joined the band as such. Let's tell a lie. I used to follow another band, and they were called Shalana, based in Tottenham. Again, they were a reggae band, and their drummer Orville, who was a good mate of mine, one of my best mates. Bless his soul, he's passed now, and he was also left-handed as well. So when I went to see them rehearse, I was able to jump on his kit and play quite freely because it was left-handed. He was left-handed, and we just played drums. You know what I mean? He was in the band, but when there was a spare moment, I just jump on the drums and play. So, and he gave me like my first proper experience to play regularly on a drum kit. So that was fun. So that was really good. That'd be like every Sunday down at the youth club. every Sunday down at the youth club and just play from like 2 till 6 every Sunday. And it was
great. Oh, wow. So you're really getting proper training.
So I'm getting proper into it. And, you know, and then I did get a gig and he lent me his drum kit, which was great. So, you know, because I didn't have a drum kit, still haven't got a drum kit at this point. And I'm just using Orville's drum kit. He then, you know, he just obviously got busier and just they got gigs and stuff. And then, you know, I stopped again. Now, and then after that, I'm in school, senior school now. I'm at senior school. So I'm about, I don't know, 15 or something like that, about 15, I reckon, 14, 15. Yeah, about 15, I reckon. And we had a new girl come into the class.
Okay.
Who got sat next to me, and what I didn't know was that she was a singer. But she was really experienced. She was already doing sessions. She was already semi-pro, doing sessions, doing gigs, making records. She was already doing that at like 14, 15. And her name was Toyin. And she had a band called Pure and Simple. And they had a drummer. Drummer was cool. It was all right. It was cool, you know. But, you know, she mentioned that she was looking for a new drummer. And I said, you know, when you're ready, I said, you know what, if you want, I'll try out for your band, you know. And literally like maybe 6 weeks later or something, there were some issues within the band. And she asked me, do you fancy coming to try out for the band? And I said, yeah, why not? So I came and tried out for the band and did, and got the job as the drummer for Pure and Simple.
Wow.
And that was my first semi-pro gig. That was my first semi-pro gig. That was.
So let's clarify when we say semi-pro to the novice people that don't know what they mean. Semi-pro, does it mean you were working on charity, or were you working where you were getting something?
I was getting expenses.
Okay. He's working on charity level, but he gets there.
Expenses.
Excuse me. Let's say it once more. He gets there he gets cab fare, or not even cab fare. He gets transit fare.
Transit fare, that's what we call it. Yeah.
Like cab fare would never be part of the
transportation fees is what I got. Transportation.
Did you get grub? Did you get food at the gig?
Yeah. Got fed and watered as always. That's standard.
So he basically was horse bathed and dragged around the town.
Yeah. And I did, and I was with them for a couple of years.
Well, you know what? Everybody needs to get their chops. So I'm going to presume that this was a good moment for you to work out, doing what you're doing. You know, to education-wise, it's like you guys say. I always learned it from all of you. It's like you call it the apprenticeship time.
Yes.
If that's your apprenticeship, you were doing it right then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was semi-pro from then. You know, literally. You know. Because Toyin had a drum kit, because remember, I still haven't got my drum kit. So she had a drum kit that I used for her gigs.
Who made the drum kit that you were playing on for her gigs? Do you remember?
Who made the drum? I think it was Pearl.
Okay.
Pearl drum kit, yeah. I'm sure it was a Pearl drum kit. It was all right. It did the job. Kick, snare, hat, couple of toms, couple of cymbals. It's great, you know. And it sounded okay. I didn't have a clue about tuning drums or anything, but you know what? It worked. So we were good. And it sounded good for what we wanted. And we got by. We got by, you know.
And how often was she gigging out? And where were you guys gigging?
So we'd rehearse every week, like every Monday. We rehearse like every Monday for like 3 hours, 6 till 9 or 6 till 9. And we'd gig maybe once a month, which she did everything. She went out, she found the gigs, she did all her own like marketing and stuff. Marketing back then as you could do it. Do you know what I mean? She went traveling around all over the place looking for gigs. She did it all. She worked proper hard. And I was like kind of like going to school and just doing my thing. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Were you recording yet at that time, or were you just doing all the live stuff?
No, it was just all live. I didn't do no recording yet. I hadn't done no recording yet. I didn't do no recording till I got my first drum kit. Yeah.
What was the music style you would have said that she would be genre under?
She would be classed as, we have a genre here called lovers rock. Don't know if you know it.
I know it, but you can explain it to all the young kids.
Okay, so it's reggae music with soulful chords, with really nice soulful chords based on old soul tracks. So like, I don't know. Let's say like a old school Barry White track.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you want me, say it. Do, 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 do. That's that type of stuff. Do you know what I mean? You know, that old school soul stuff, Teddy Pendergrass stuff, Stephanie Mills.
Stevie Wonder's Isn't She Lovely? Then all of a sudden brought to a reggae feel. So you drop in the reggae type of drum
reggae beats, and with the chink, chink, chink,
right.
chink. Do you know what I mean? You know,
chink,
over those chords, using the chords of the song. You know, so that and what she would do is her style, because she also wrote as well. So she wrote her own songs. She did. Crikey, she must have. But when I knew her, she must have already penned about maybe 10 songs, because she was already recording as well. You see, she'd already done like tracks and released them, so she'd already penned like 10 songs. So we were doing like her songs plus some covers as well, which is great, you know. But the style of music was amazing. It was actually really good. And it was a great way for me to kind of get into the groove, to kind of learn how to groove as well, you know. So it was really good, really good. We gigged like maybe, you know, once or twice a month. Christmas we'd get a few more gigs. We might have a New Year gig, just to, you know, get a bit more transport money. Sure. But it was cool. Those years are formational for me. They sound very formational. Yeah, they were really good years for me, actually. Really good years to get started into that whole music thing. Was there anything that happened during those formative years that would have made you say, I don't know if I really want to do this? Never. Was this okay? So, because, you know, sometimes things do happen where you go, oh no, this is not for me. Right. You know, people say, well, I'm going to go take that bank teller job that the mom and dad, or the factory job, whatever. No. Do you know what? I never, ever came across anything like that. What happened was, I'll be honest with you, Lenny. Now, what happened was, is that obviously when I was getting more and more into it, I'd ask my mom and dad to buy me a drum kit. I went, Mom, Dad, I really like a drum kit. You know, oh, please get me a drum kit. You ain't getting no drum kit. You ain't getting no drum kit. Year after year, I would ask, or week after week. And then it became day after day. It became day after day, hour after hour. Minute by minute. I want a drum kit. Get me a drum kit. Please get me. When did they break down? When did they break down? When they broke down. In fact, they didn't even break down. Hardcore to the hilt. My mum was, not so much my dad. My dad was great, because my dad's coming from like a bit of a musical rhythmic background anyway, so that was great. So I had him on my side. Let's put it that way. Is mom and dad both Caribbean? Yes. Yeah. From Jamaica. I will say this. I know this about Jamaicans, especially when they live in England. They are rough as far as being disciplinarians. They stay to, if they don't, even if they want to break it, they won't. Yeah. They're straight down the line. Don't mess about. If they say no, it's no. No. Don't ask again, but I did. I was very persistent. It sounded like you had Mission Impossible there. It was a bit like that. And then what happened was, is that my mum said to me, well, if you want a drum kit, you're going to have to buy it yourself. The only way a drum kit is coming in this house is if you buy it yourself. So I thought, all right then, I'm going to buy myself a drum kit. So what did I do? I went out and got myself a part-time job at Marks and Spencer's. Good for you. in Dalston, East London, and I worked there for about 3 or 4 years. But I managed to get together £400 to buy my first drum kit.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
To buy my first drum kit. Yeah, my first ever Black Sparkle 1964 Slingerland drum kit.
Nice drum kit.
Yeah. 6-piece it was. 6-piece. Like 12, 13, 14, 16-inch tom, 22-inch kick.
Nice big sound kick.
Yeah. With metal snare. I think it was 14x5, I think. 14x5 snare.
Was it a Ludwig? Was it Black Beauty? Was it one of those? Or the typical silver one? The silver piccolo snare. You know,
no, a bit deeper than the piccolo, because piccolo's like 4-inch, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? This is like a bit deeper. It's 5-inch, like a standard Slingerland snare, which is actually quite cool. Really nice sound to it. Had a good sound to it. A bit hard to tune. I'll be honest. It's a bit hard to tune, but I got a great sound out of it. And it worked really well. Worked out how to tune it, just about. Got my brand new Remo heads on it, and everything. It was great. Loved it. And that was my first ever drum kit. And then of course that came into the house, and I set it up in my little kind of box bedroom, and I managed to set the whole thing up, the whole 6-piece up
in your bedroom.
In the bedroom.
It must have took up the whole bedroom.
It took up the whole bedroom.
What were the cymbals made from? Whose cymbals?
The cymbals were, you mean who made them? Who made them? Oh, right. Gosh.
Was it Zildjian, Sabian?
No, I wouldn't say, but it was Zildjian. But old school Zildjian sounded so tinny. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even funny. They just sounded super tinny. But one thing I did buy, which was Zildjian, and which were great, were the hi-hats, which were new beat hi-hats. And I bought those because I knew that Harvey Mason and Billy Cobham played them. So I went out of my way and bought those hi-hats.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, bro.
Whatever. 100
Let me ask you something. How important is it as a drummer, everybody has their, look, here's the deal for me. I'm not a drummer. I'm a record producer. I'm as people heard me on past shows talk about, I'm classically trained. So I could talk to you somewhat musically.
Yeah.
But I'm not a drummer. I've also been blessed to be invited to Earl Young's house, who was the maker of the 4/4 sound. And I was able to check out his drums, and I interviewed him and all. And I heard the cymbals. He had thick metal Zildjian cymbals.
Right.
So a little bit darker sounding.
Yeah. When
you're testing things,
right?
You go to a music shop and you're testing. What are you looking for cymbals? Because drum heads is a certain. You got a slinger, so we know how that sounds. Got that 60s sound, real wood. So when you're looking for that cymbal,
is that me or you? Is that you, Dingin?
It's me. They're trying to send me all kinds of stuff right now. It's crazy. They're sending me love letters.
Oh dear, Lenny, just tell them you're working, dude.
I'm trying. They know I'm working. Please ask them about the Zildjian cymbals. I'm asking them. Well, go ahead. So when you're going into as a professional drummer, even when you started, you got the cheaper versions. You're probably excited that you were able to get the cymbals, right? They're expensive. They could be as much as the drum kit, from what I understand.
Yeah,
all right.
That's right. Yeah. So what I'm looking for, I mean, when I was younger, I was still trying to find my sound, right? So I'm experimenting with all different kinds of cymbals, sounds, all that kind of stuff, But for me, I was just, because I'd listened to my heroes, do you know what I mean? Then I'd kind of want to imitate their sound. But, so I'd know that I'd like the sound of Billy Cobham cymbals on a certain track. So I try and find a cymbal that sounds similar to that, So it would be like a Zildjian 16-inch dark crash or something, But I didn't know it was a dark crash until I'd gone into the shop and played it. And then I'd go, right, I like that cymbal, But the hi-hats, I definitely knew because I'd seen them on a picture in a catalog with a Billy Cobham playing these new beat hi-hats, which had the holes in the bottom. So I knew exactly what hi-hats I wanted, which is great. And I still have those cymbals. Believe it or not.
I believe it.
Yeah, I still have those cymbals. So I'm looking for a sound. I mean, I look for a sound that I think relates to the music that I play, basically. That's the main thing. I wouldn't go in and buy a thin crash cymbal. It would be pretty thick, and there'd be 15 inch cymbals, 15 inch upwards, and then I'd get effect cymbals like splash cymbals, 8 inch, 10 inch.
So when we look at your drum kit, like Neil Peart from Rush, Neil Peart he looked like a drum store. When you look, it's like he had everything around him, including a gong. I mean, everything. Do you actually, as a drummer, use everything?
Do you know what? I only use what's required. Lenny.
But you're laughing, but you know what I mean. You watch Neil Peart. I love Rush. I like rock, not just a disco boy. I love rock music, and I love listening to good instrumentation. So I can ask these questions to him. You look at Neil Peart. You look at John Bonham's, Led Zeppelin's. Some of them are very simple sets.
Yeah.
Ringo from the Beatles, 4-piece set, straight up. With all that fancy stuff, rack toms, gongs, cymbals, splash. Are you using everything or no?
Well, he obviously does. I won't lie. I've seen him play, and he actually uses everything for whatever song he's doing. He'll use some part of that kit, so everything will get used. The gong he'll most probably once at the end of a song, but he still uses it, right? So
same with Mick Fleetwood. I saw Fleetwood Mac. He had that gong too. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And not only is it just an image.
It looks beautiful, but
it's great, right? How cool does that look? Even if you don't hit it, it still looks great.
Beautiful. It's a gorgeous look having that copper gong behind you.
I like it when some of them play and they got like the gong, the mallet at the end of the stick. So they got a stick at one end, the gong thing at the other. And I've seen them play and then they stop and then they just literally swap the stick around and just go wallop.
Boom.
Hit the gong, bring the stick back down, swap it round and then start playing again. Wow. I'm like, that's showmanship.
Yes. I tell you, someone I enjoyed as a drummer too, seeing, like I mentioned in the opening, Buddy Rich.
Oh, amazing drummer.
He rest in peace, but what amazing drum. Talk about keeping time.
Oh gosh, yeah. And he was a workhorse as well. He was a proper workhorse, but a fantastic drummer, but also had a great musical ear. And, to direct a big band, be a drummer, direct a big band and know exactly what you're listening for, that's hard work. It's hard work. But he had the ear for it and he knew exactly what he wanted to hear. So everybody that played had to be on the ball because he'd hear mistakes. He'd hear the mistakes. What a drummer. Great solos.
Yeah, it's true.
And a great groove. Fantastic groove. That whole big band thing, that's him, man. Just, fantastic. But then, you got Gene Krupa, people like Gene Krupa, who's like an amazing drummer. Again, big band drummer, and was the first drummer to use double kick drum. He was the first ever drummer to bring double kick drum into like jazz.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like proper.
Oh, is it double kick drum or double pedal?
Double kick drum, two bass drums.
I've seen some guys use double pedals to get that same effect.
Yeah. I used to use that. I don't use it so much now. But I used to use that. It just takes up room, to be honest. It's like, I don't really need two pedals. I don't hit the double kick drum pedal that often, so I don't use it that much. But whereas somebody like Gene Krupa or Ginger Baker or Billy Cobham, they use it a lot. So good luck to them.
But we still don't have musical training. We're still going on the strength of natural ability, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah. My musical training is natural. I'm self-taught, Lenny. honestly, I'm self-taught. I've only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons in my whole musical career. And that's the
So if somebody scored something out for you and said you got to follow the chart, can you follow a chart, or you do it by ear?
I'm a majority ear man, like 99%. Majority ear man, 1% reading. My reading's not brilliant. I can get by, but I would have to sit down and work it out, to be honest. I can't just sight read. You get some drummers that just get on the drums and then just...
Yeah, I know. They're just amazing. They can read and write. It's like, what?
Whoa. We'll just read and play and just go like, whoa, 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 and just know it straight off. I can't do that. I've got to learn the song.
That's okay, but you do it well. So that's...
Yeah, but it's how I was brought up. You know, I was brought up by listening to music, learning beats. That's how I trained myself. And then, I'll be honest with you, I learnt from a really good friend of mine, drummer, great jazz drummer, and a great reggae, and it's a fantastic reggae drummer, but he actually plays everything. He's playing with, is it JP Harvey? Singer, right? Is it JP Harvey? She's like, I think so, yeah. JP Harvey. So he's playing with her. His name's Kenrick Rowe. And he was the guy that put me onto drum rudiments, which are the drum exercises.
Okay.
Yeah. So he put me onto those. Now that was interesting. So because I'd never done rudiments before. So we're going back now. So we're going back a bit now to like when I was about 15 or something. And I started to do the rudiments. Now those rudiments are basically like scales for a pianist. I mean, you're classically trained, so you know, right? So
do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do.
All that kind of stuff. But for me,
except he's doing it with
left, right.
left, right. Yeah.
And hold on, where is it? Hold on.
He's got it there.
I got it. And this is my Bible, as in my musical Bible, Stick Control.
Stick Control for the Snare Drummer.
Stick Control for the Snare Drum. It's a great book. And it's got like the first, basically all the drums are, all the things that people play on drums are based on the first 26 exercises out of this book, essentially. And that book's got everything in it. So I've spent my time, even recently, literally as Monday, I was practicing. Do you know what I mean? On the drum pad. And just from that book. It's great. It's really
and practicing is part of it. You have to stay in shape, right?
Oh my goodness. It is so important. It is so important. If you want to be good at what you do, you know, obviously there's other aspects, but to keep the chops up, you have to practice. Even if it's 30 minutes a day, you just practice.
Children, get behind your instrument.
It is.
And learn your instrument. Put that 30 minutes to an hour in. You want to be good at stuff. You have time right now. We're in COVID. You know damn well and get behind. You know better. Stop watching Netflix. Shut the Netflix off and learn your instruments.
Get off the PS4.
That PS4 is deadly.
It's a disease.
Thank God I'm not involved with it, but I do know people that do get behind it. And
yeah, so do I.
2 days later, they're still there. Not even an hour.
Oh my gosh.
On your journey, you got your slinger set.
Yeah.
Where are you going after that first band? So where are we on your timeline? Where are we going?
On the timeline now, so we're talking about maybe 16 years old, 17. Around about the 18-year-old mark now, 17, 18-year-old mark. I've got my drum kit. I've joined another band called Transients, which is now, I'm now kind of upgrading now in the beats that I'm playing, because I'm now playing jazz funk.
You're playing jazz funk now?
I'm playing jazz funk now. I've gone from reggae to playing jazz funk, because that's when I discovered Billy Cobham, Harvey Mason, Clear, bands like Clear, Donald Byrd, Confunction, Bloodstone, oh gosh, loads of bands.
When you're playing jazz funk, is that a 4/4 kick sound, or is it a 2/4? A cut time feels like bop bop boom bop boom bop boom. Is that?
Do you know it with jazz funk? It's like jazz and funk, But what I used to play was more the funkier side of jazz funk. So it's in the middle, but you could play jazz funk, more the jazzier side, which is the quite complicated stuff, or you can play the funkier side of jazz funk, which is Patrice Rushen, Donald Byrd, your Harvey Masons, that clear, that's jazz funk, the funkier side of it. Or people might know it as Incognito.
Yes.
Or us, so to speak.
Right, Incognito.
I mean? Yeah, Incognito or Jamiroquai, jazz funk, So I was basically into those bands, and through listening to those bands, I wanted to play that kind of music. And I found other musicians during my journey of going from reggae and still practicing at home and everything, who were into the same kind of music that I was, playing that whole jazz funk thing. And I joined a band called Transients. And we'd write tracks, or Faye, who played the keyboard, she'd write the tracks, and I was in the band with Faye, Dave Brooks, Patrick, myself, and Steve Williamson, who's quite a really good who's a fantastic jazz saxophonist, but was into jazz funk and could play really, and still does play really, really well. And we just made up our own compositions and just played them out. But we didn't get much gigs because there wasn't really much call for it, to be honest. There wasn't much call for it. And the biggest bands at the time were, Light of the World.
Light of the World, yes.
They came out the same time as Incognito, basically. Way back, the first album, Jazz Funk, Incognito, was primarily made up of players from Light of the World.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. And produced by Bluey.
Right.
Yeah. So Bluey was like the in with all these bands, because there was like a jazz funk scene going on in North London, and you'd have Southern Freeze, Light of the World, Incognito, British. Oh gosh, I want to say the track British Hustle. Oh, I can't remember the name of the band. Beggar and Co. There's like a ton of bands that came out from North London that set that whole scene up, that whole jazz funk scene, and it consequently just kind of lifted and went along. Central Line was another one.
Yeah.
Central Line. So they're from like North London. Do you know what I mean? They're all like North.
This is all the 80s now. This is all the early 80s. I remember when
Yeah. And so that was like my kind of era of like getting into that whole jazz funk scene and slowly moving over. And then, again, slowly moving over into that kind of the disco thing. Because I didn't want to play complicated stuff. I just wanted to dance behind the drums. And I wanted to make people dance. Do you know what I mean? That was my thing. If I saw people dancing, I was happy, and I just got in, and I moved over into that. And that's why I started listening to bands like Clear, basically, and Bloodstone, and Brass Construction. There's another one, big influence for me, Brass Construction. Again, Donald Byrd was a big influence, and Patrice Rushen was a massive influence, because she had that big beat going on behind her tracks. Even though it was jazz funk, it was the funkier side.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? We're kind of bordering on even disco, so to speak.
Well, yeah, because when you listen to the beats, it's straight up 4/4. It's boom, boom,
exactly.
boom.
Yeah.
Constant. It's a constant sound. It's not stopping.
Exactly. And how many people do we know from that era who had records in the charts with what they were doing? Patrice Rushen was probably one of the only ones, to be honest. And Brass Construction.
That's Randy Muller, yeah.
You know what I mean? Randy Miller, that's right, yeah. Exactly. And it was that beat, that constant to do it with the hi-hat work and stuff. And that's what just grabbed me, really. I was just into it big time. Just like, I want to play like that.
Yeah, but like a record like Lovers Come Around, Donald Byrd. That's that leaves the jazz funk and goes into the dance.
Yeah,
clubs,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
exactly that. And we just wanted to produce, write track and play tracks based on that.